Now, as a lot of you guys probably already know, SCHD, or the Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF, is my personal favorite ETF across the entire stock market, and that's simply because this ETF offers exactly more or less what I'm looking for as a long-term investor. But the reality is that the market has been shaken up like crazy this year, and SCHD, as I film in this video, is down around 7%, where SCHY, the Schwab International Dividend Equity ETF, year to date is up over 12%. Now, this had me thinking a lot as of recently, should I start moving over some of my daily purchases, which are currently into SCHD, into SCHY, and get some international dividend exposure in my long-term portfolio? Well, in this video, we're going to go through all that and more. I'm going to share with you guys what I'm personally thinking when it comes to holding on to and buying SCHD, which offers only US exposure. We're also going to go through what SCHY is, what the ETF has to offer, and like I said, maybe or maybe not thinking about adding it into my portfolio. So if you want to look into SCHY, the Schwab International Dividend Equity ETF, an ETF that, like I said, is absolutely destroying SCHD year to date, well, then make sure to stick around, drop a like down below, and let's get right into it. My A to Z Dividend Investing ebook has helped countless dividend investors get started with their journey. And my custom dividend tracker that I'm constantly using here on the channel has also helped so many investors stay on track and allow them to see their dividend income in real time. Well, today I have another treat for you guys. I'm not only going to offer you my A to Z Dividend Investing ebook and the custom dividend tracker, but also just for a short limited time, I'm going to be adding in my brand new weekly dividend blueprint ebook to show you how you can get started with weekly dividend ETFs and add this into your investing strategy. This offer is not going to last long, so go ahead and click the first link down below in my description, and you're going to get both ebooks and the custom dividend tracker bundle. But like I said, please act fast because this won't be around for long. Now let's get back into the video. Now, before anything else, let's go through this ETF, understand how it works, what it has to offer, etc. SCHY. The objective is to track as closely as possible, before fees and expenses, the total return of an index composed of high dividend yielding stocks issued by companies outside of the US. Now, I get asked all the time if I personally have exposure to stocks or ETFs that are outside the US, and honestly, I might have a little bit, but more or less, I don't have any at all. Now, this could be a massive mistake depending on what time frame you're looking at and depending on what happens in the US markets long term. But for me as a long-term investor, I really haven't seen a big need to reach for any international exposure, maybe until now. Now, the net expense ratio for SCHY is also very cheap, just like SCHD, at 0.08%. The highlights of the fund seem very familiar: a straightforward low-cost fund offering potential tax efficiency. The fund can serve as part of the core or complement in a diversified portfolio. It tracks an index focused on quality and sustainability of dividends by screening non-US companies based on 4 dividend quality attributes. So just like SCHD, it does seem like there's some screens to go through, which means that there's probably going to be some high quality names in the holdings, which we're going to go over here in a second. It says invest in non-US high dividend yielding stocks with a record of paying dividends for at least 10 consecutive years, financial strength, and screen for lower volatility, which I personally like. Now, looking into the portfolio of SCHY, honestly, I don't really recognize most of these names. I recognize, of course, British American Tobacco and Unilever PLC, but to be honest, I don't recognize any of these names. The top names are ENEL, we have 4528, we have ULVR, we have DG, we have BATS, we have West, we have TTE, we have BHP, we have GSX, and ROG. Now, I personally am not someone that thinks that you need to really research every single stock inside every single ETF that you hold on to. Again, generally speaking, you should have an idea, and of course, decide on your own if that's very important to you. But just for me personally, I can't honestly tell you every single thing about every single name in SCHD, but I will say a lot of the names are much more familiar than the names in SCHY. So if we really want to get a better idea of what was going on in SCHY, we probably would have to do some investigation work, at least on some of the top 10 holdings. But as of right now, this is what makes up the ETF more or less. Now, also important to note, inside SCHY, there is a decent amount of diversification. We have 141 stocks in here, so you are getting exposure to a ton of different names, which personally for me, if I was going to get some international exposure, because I have almost no idea about any of these names, especially because they're international, I would want to have a decent amount of diversification. Now, looking at SCHY's performance on the max time frame, the ETF has been trading since about April of 2021, and it's basically flat on the max time frame. It's up around 3.06%, and before that, before the most recent bull run of this ETF, the ETF is basically down on the max time frame, which is a stark comparison if we were to look at SCHD's massive price return on the max time frame, not even including dividends, which is insane. But to be fair, SCHY is up around 12.37%. I mean, maybe the tides are turning and maybe a lot of investors are going to really start investing more internationally, especially with what's going on in the markets. Now, one of the main concerns when it comes to any ETF for me personally is going to be dividends, dividend growth, and dividend history, etc. SCHY has a 4.11% dividend yield. So funny enough, it's almost more or less exactly what SCHD is offering right now because SCHD has been beat up so much this year. So SCHY does have a trailing 12-month yield of over 4%, which I would give that an A+. Now, dividend growth is very, very important to me because I personally want to build a portfolio that's going to pay me dividends, but also pay me more and more in dividend income over time. Now, as far as dividend growth goes, it doesn't seem like there's really any dividend growth when it comes to SCHY. It looks like the ETF pays out a quarterly dividend, which some have been smaller, some have been larger. There's been a few massive ones that get paid in December, looks like, but the dividend payouts so far look like they're all over the place, and there doesn't seem to be a nice steady dividend growth rate. So right off the bat, what I'm seeing is an ETF that offers exposure to names that I personally have no idea what they offer. Again, I can do my own research and look into at least some of the top 10 names in the future. An ETF that has basically traded flat since inception, and an ETF that does offer a decent yield around 4.11% as of right now, but offers no targeted payouts on a consistent basis and offers more or less no dividend growth. But to be fair, what we really have to do is sort of match up SCHY and SCHD and look at them both on a max time frame within how long the shorter of the few have been trading. Now on this time frame alone, this is just over the last several years. Both the ETF's total returns are pretty similar, with SCHD as of right now offering a slight bit lower of a total return, but they both have offered around 16 or 17% on this time frame. Now you can see basically every single time frame historically up until as of recent, SCHD has absolutely been crushing SCHY, but with SCHY's 12% year-to-date return, it's now back in the races. Now let's be completely honest, long term, if I only had to pick one of these two ETFs, you guys know what I would pick. I would pick SCHD all day. But even with that, I would consider adding a very, very small portion of my portfolio into international ETFs. And that's again just because as of right now, I have almost no exposure. And even though SCHY has had a good year so far, just because some of the international ETFs are finally moving up in price, I do still think that SCHD long term in the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years is going to absolutely outperform SCHY and is going to offer exactly what I'm looking for, which is why once again this ETF is my overall favorite. So now that you guys know exactly what SCHY is, what it has to offer, its total return historically, and some of the things I personally like about it and don't like about it, I lastly, most importantly, have a question for you guys down below. When it comes to SCHY, the Schwab International Dividend Equity ETF, would you add this one to your portfolio or not? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to please drop a like on it and subscribe for more future content like this. Thanks as always for stopping by, and if you are interested in investing, make sure to check out these recent videos I posted right here.